going to give you an example of a long shot. So these are just, these 3 different distances that should give you some ideas of how you can do this. This is a bit of Terry Blackstock's first scene, the end of her first scene in her novel Predator. The short chapter opens in the mire of tragedy. Krista is at Hope's End. Her younger teenage sister Ella has been missing for 2 weeks, and now she gets the dreaded news that the police have found a body in the woods. Okay, so they take Krista to the crime scene to see if she can identify this brutally murdered girl. But Terry does a great job. Instead of just having the police take her right up to the body and show her the body, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's my sister," and the scene is over in 1 paragraph. She draws out that suspense because she's an excellent suspense writer, and she makes you have to wait, just like her character has to wait to find out. And this is again done with a long shot. The officer took her arm and walked her toward the investigators. When she reached them, she realized the body was another 25 yards beyond them. "You can't go any closer," the lieutenant said in a soft voice. "There could be footprints or trace evidence." Okay, right there, where she's setting up this distance of what she can see from here and what she can't. Nausea rose, but she stood paralyzed, staring toward the mound of dirt where the girl lay. She couldn't see a thing, not what she was wearing or the color of her hair. Krista waited, willing back the numbness, certain she wouldn't recognize the girl. As the first raindrops fell, a man in a medical examiner's jacket took in a gurney, and Krista watched as they pulled the body from its shallow tomb. She saw the pink striped shirt that Ella was wearing that last day, blonde hair matted with blood and earth. Her knees went weak, turned to rubber. She dropped and hit the ground. At once, a crowd of police surrounded her, asking if she was okay. She blinked and sat up, let them pull her back to her feet. Ella. She heard footsteps pounding the dirt. "Oh, no, it can't be her." Her father's voice, raspy and heart-wrenching, wailed out over the crowd. She wanted to go to him and comfort him, but it was as though her hands were bound to her sides and her legs wouldn't move. As they brought the girl closer, Krista saw the bloody, bruised face, Ella's face. The search was over. Her sister was dead. So she does a wonderful job with her camera here, if you've noticed. So first off, she's got the long shot. She can't see anything. Then she can see the body with the shirt, and then her dad comes in, and then all of a sudden the girl's brought closer. So we're actually getting, sort of a camera pan thing happening here. And then she gets to see the close-up of her sister, and then it's over. But again, she could have just had the police bring her right to the body, but it wouldn't have had the same effect as building this tension. And when you're writing suspense, you want to drag that tension out as much as you can and torture your readers, because that's our job as suspense writers. Okay, so let's see, let me check what time it is here. Okay, so I'm going to skip my next example and move on to some other things. So there's some other stationary shots. You've got a list of some of these on your handout, and you can explore some of those. It's really fun when you're reading a great novel to try to figure out what shots that are being used by the author. I can probably bet you that the author isn't thinking in terms of camera shots, just sort of doing it intuitively. But I'm trying to get you to think of this a little bit more deliberately, so that if you haven't used this technique, you can start applying it deliberately. So we have, let's see. Okay, so some other stationary shots. We have montage shots. A montage, we see this a lot in movies. That's where you just have a whole bunch of little images or little clips that try to imply the passing of time. A lot of times they're just, they're put to music. I just think of like every dance movie I've ever seen, like Footloose or Strictly Ballroom or whatever. I love them all. But they'll all often have a character trying to learn how to dance, and so they'll have a song. And by the end of the song, for the viewer, the character has now learned how to be a great dancer. But there's all the little clips of them trying along the way and failing. So the montage effect is really to show what might happen over a period of time. It's a great way in writing technique to get time to move fast. For instance, you could have a woman that's at her daughter's wedding, and her daughter is walking down the aisle, and while she's walking down the aisle, she's just remembering sort of like little clips of of her life, of like when she first went to kindergarten and when she won the science fair award, or when she, her soccer team made it to the state finals or whatever. So she could be having like this sort of montage of thoughts about how her daughter's life is, how her daughter's grown up so quickly, and she's giving her away at her wedding. Series of shots is just one shot after another. We see this a lot in high action sequences, like a car is racing around the corner and then all of a sudden you'll see a wheel getting loose on the car, and the camera will angle onto that loose wheel, and then you'll have a shot of the driver trying to make it around the corner, and then all of a sudden you'll get a bigger shot of the cars going off the cliff or something. And that's a series of shots. And we do that too in our writing, and it's just just a fast action clipping of one shot after another, usually short sentences, short words, short paragraphs, and that gives you a sense of a series of shots. I think the more powerful shots are these moving shots. So we've looked at stationary shots, and they're super useful, and we use them a lot, and we also use them very intuitively. But when you do moving shots, when you're zooming in, or you're zooming out, or pulling back, or you're panning, this is when you start really working your reader into places where you want them to go. And the thing to keep in mind is so weird and different about fiction is that it's kind of crazy, and we're used to it as readers, and we even are sort of used to it as writers, but when you stop to think about how insane it is that when we write scenes, we have a point of view character who has kind of like a camera in her head, and we're seeing what she's seeing. So as the character is doing things, we're seeing out of their eyes, but at the same time we're moving back and forth out of her body and showing what she is doing in the greater setting. So you're in her head, you're out of her head, you're in her head, you're out of her head, and it is kind of schizophrenic, but we do this very naturally. However, if we don't really understand how to do it well, it's going to come across poorly.